We have more breaking news this morning. We've just learned that another individual has been indicted in the classified documents case against Donald Trump. Walt Nauta, who was the man in the red tie right there, who had been a White House aide and then followed Donald Trump to Mar-a-Lago. He has been indicted in this case as well. CNN's Evan Perez back with us with the details here. Evan.
That's right, John. Walt Nauta has been a figure, certainly, that's been central to this investigation. Prosecutors have allegedly been trying to pressure him, according to some of the lawyers in the Trump orbit. They've been pressuring him to try to flip, to try to turn against the former president. They say that he never did that. In recent days, Walt Nauta was actually seen at Bedminster alongside the former president, among a group of aides who have been there with him.
Okay, so here's what nobody's talking about right now. While everyone's busy arguing about the economy or whatever else is trending on Twitter, there's this massive story happening behind the scenes that could literally blow up Trump's entire second term. And I'm not exaggerating here. President Trump's inner circle, yeah, the people he trusts most, they're turning on him, like actively cooperating with prosecutors, handing over documents, testifying, the whole thing. And this isn't just some random staffer who worked in the building once. We're talking about people who were right there at Mar-a-Lago during all this classified documents drama. Come on, can you believe this? So there's this witness. Let me tell you about this guy. His name's Tavares. He worked at Mar-a-Lago. He was part of Trump's team. And at first he told one story. Then he completely flipped, retracted everything, and started cooperating with prosecutors. Just handed them everything they wanted. But before we go any further, real quick, let's be honest. You can't really trust mainstream media anymore. That's why we built Pump Politics, to bring you real stories, real context, and no corporate spin. If you want to stay ahead of the headlines, join our free newsletter. We'll send the news straight to your inbox every day. Just click the link in the description to join. And if you just want to support what we're doing, join us. Be part of the community that actually cares about the truth. All right, let's get back to the video.
As he was waiting to hear whether Jack Smith was going to indict him, and now he's now facing charges. We do not know specifics of the charges that Nauta faced, but here's the deal. He was big. His involvement here looms very large for the former president. He is one of the people who allegedly was handling some of these documents, moved some of the boxes allegedly from the storage room. Again, this is part of what Jack Smith and his investigative team have been looking at for months. This is somebody who was very close to the former president. Began his job as a valet in the White House. The guy who brought him his Diet Cokes, for instance, right? And then moved down to Mar-a-Lago when the former president left office, and he has been by his side. Again, somebody who witnessed a lot of the things that went on down there, and certainly was somebody that the Justice Department was keen.
And get this, he revealed a whole plot to delete surveillance video at Mar-a-Lago. Yeah, security camera footage that apparently showed stuff the government really wanted to see. And according to the prosecutors, Trump was involved in trying to get rid of this video. This is wild. Now think about what this means. This isn't just about classified documents anymore. This is about loyalty. This is about trust. This is about whether the people around Trump will actually stand by him when things get tough, or if they'll save themselves first. And here's the kicker. The government has collected over 833,000 pages of evidence in this case. Let me say that again. 833,000 pages. That's not a typo. We're talking emails, grand jury transcripts, videos from Mar-a-Lago, everything. 4,500 key documents that they shared with Trump's defense team back in June 2023. This case has been dragging on for years now, and it's still active. Right now, while Trump's sitting in the Oval Office trying to run the country. So why does this matter? Because loyalty is everything in Trump's world. Like, that's his whole thing. You're either with him or you're against him. There's no middle ground. And when people in his inner circle start flipping, when they start cooperating with prosecutors, that sends a message to everyone else around him. Are you kidding me? The optics here are terrible, and it gets worse. There was this hearing back in October 2023 where Judge Cannon had to deal with all these conflicts, like Trump's attorney Stanley Woodward might have to cross-examine his own former client Tavares. Think about how awkward that is. Your lawyer potentially grilling you on the witness stand because you flipped. This is the kind of stuff that creates tension, real tension, the kind that makes other people in Trump's orbit start thinking, hey, maybe I should protect myself too. Maybe I should start talking to prosecutors before it's too late. And you know what's crazy? This isn't even the first time we've seen this pattern. Remember the whole Ukraine thing? National security professionals testified that Trump withheld aid to Ukraine for personal favors. That was about pressure and loyalty too. And now we're seeing the same dynamic play out with these classified documents. It's like, how many times can this happen before people start asking the real questions? So here's what's actually going on. Trump's presidency is being haunted by these legal battles from before he took office. And the people who were supposed to be his most loyal defenders, they're cracking under pressure, they're making deals, they're handing over evidence, they're saving themselves. And this matters right now because we're in 2025. Trump's in his second term. He's trying to push through his agenda on the economy, immigration, all his big policy goals. But how can he do that effectively when his inner circle is falling apart? When people are testifying against him, when prosecutors are building cases with mountains of evidence, this is wild, like seriously wild, and the media is barely covering it properly. Everyone's so distracted by the daily drama that they're missing the bigger picture. Trump's foundation of loyalty, the thing that held his whole political operation together, it's crumbling, person by person, document by document. So yeah, buckle up, because this story is about to get a whole lot messier before it gets better. And what we're seeing right now, this is just the beginning. Alright, so let's actually dig into what happened here. Because the surface level story, yeah, it's bad. But when you understand the details, it's so much worse than you think. Let me walk you through this step by step. Back in the summer of 2023, prosecutors filed what's called a superseding indictment. That's basically when they add new charges or new information to an existing case. And in this superseding indictment, they revealed that Tavares, remember that guy I mentioned, he had completely changed his testimony. At first he told investigators one version of events. Then later he came back and said, actually no, that wasn't true. Here's what really happened. And what he revealed was this alleged plot to delete surveillance footage from Mar-a-Lago. Now why would anyone want to delete surveillance footage? Well, according to prosecutors, that footage showed people moving boxes of classified documents around. It potentially showed Trump himself involved in handling these materials, and if that footage disappeared, well, that's destruction of evidence. That's obstruction. That's a whole new level of legal trouble. And Tavares didn't just tell them about this plot. He cooperated fully, handed over documents, gave detailed testimony, the whole 9 yards, and in exchange, he wasn't charged. He got what's called cooperation immunity, which means as long as he tells the truth and helps prosecutors, he walks away clean. Can you believe this? This guy was inside Trump's operation. He saw everything, and now he's working with the other side. But here's where it gets really interesting. Tavares isn't the only one. There have been other people in Trump's orbit who've made similar moves, like Carlos Garcia de Boze, another witness who initially said one thing and then changed his story after pressure from prosecutors. This creates a pattern, and patterns matter in legal cases. When prosecutors can show multiple witnesses flipping, multiple people changing their stories in the same direction, that builds a narrative. That makes juries think, hey, maybe there's actually something there. So let's talk about those 833,450 pages of evidence, because that number sounds insane, right? But what does it actually mean? Well, in any big federal case, prosecutors collect everything. Emails, text messages, phone records, financial documents, witness statements, video footage, audio recordings, everything they can possibly get their hands on, and they have to share it with the defense team. That's the law. It's called discovery. But out of those 833,450 pages, the prosecutors flagged about 4,500 documents as key evidence. Those are the ones that really matter. Those are the smoking guns. The emails, where people discussed moving classified materials. The videos, showing boxes being transported. The witness statements that contradict Trump's version of events. And Trump's legal team got all of this back in June 2023, which means they've had over a year and a half to prepare their defense. They know exactly what the government has. They know exactly what witnesses are saying, and they're still dealing with pretrial issues going into 2025. Think about that. This case has been in pretrial mode for years, which means it hasn't even gone to trial yet. All this drama, all this testimony, all these flipped witnesses, and we haven't even gotten to the actual courtroom showdown. So what's taking so long? Well, there are a bunch of legal issues that Judge Cannon has had to sort through, like the conflict of interest thing I mentioned earlier, with Stanley Woodward potentially having to cross-examine his own former client Tavares. That October 2023 hearing was wild. Judge Cannon basically had to figure out whether Woodward could even participate in parts of the trial because of these ethical issues. And this isn't just technical legal stuff. This matters because it shows how messy things have gotten inside Trump's defense team. When your lawyers are conflicted out because witnesses are flipping, that's a problem. That means the defense has to bring in new attorneys who aren't as familiar with the case. It creates chaos. It weakens the overall defense strategy. And let's be real here. This is exactly what prosecutors want. They want the defense team scrambling. They want witnesses flipping. They want maximum pressure on everyone involved, because that's how they get more cooperation. That's how they build stronger cases. Now here's where it connects to bigger issues. Remember when Trump withheld aid to Ukraine back in 2019? National security professionals testified about that. They said Trump was using his power as president to pressure a foreign government for personal political favors. That was also about loyalty. That was also about Trump expecting people to do what he wanted, regardless of whether it was legal or ethical. And people in his administration pushed back. They testified against him. They cooperated with investigators. Are you kidding me? It's the same pattern repeating itself. And you know what's crazy? People compare this to Hillary Clinton's email situation. Back when she was Secretary of State, she used a private email server for government business. Some of those emails contained classified information. Republicans went absolutely ballistic. They held hearings. They demanded prosecutions. They made it the centerpiece of the 2016 election. Trump himself said she should be in jail. Lock her up. Remember that? That was his whole thing. But now when Trump's accused of mishandling classified documents, way more documents than Clinton ever dealt with, suddenly it's all a witch hunt. Suddenly it's political persecution. Suddenly the rules don't matter. Come on, the hypocrisy is unbelievable. And this connects to other Trump controversies too, like the Fox News defamation cases over false 2020 election claims. Those cases are still ongoing. Fox is getting hammered in court for spreading conspiracy theories about voting machines and election fraud. And who was at the center of those false claims? Trump and his allies, the same people who are now dealing with classified documents charges. The same pattern of pushing boundaries, ignoring rules, and then acting shocked when there are consequences. This is wild, like seriously wild. So why does all this matter right now in 2025? Because Trump's trying to govern while all this legal drama swirls around him. He's trying to push his agenda. He's trying to maintain control of his party. He's trying to project strength. But how can he do any of that effectively when his inner circle is destabilizing? When people are making deals with prosecutors? When new evidence keeps coming out? Every time a witness flips, it sends a message to other people in Trump's orbit. It tells them, hey, maybe you should think about protecting yourself. Maybe you should start talking to lawyers. Maybe you should consider cooperation before it's too late. And that creates this atmosphere of paranoia and distrust. Nobody knows who's next to flip. Nobody knows who's secretly recording conversations or saving documents. Everyone's looking over their shoulder. That's not how you run an effective presidency. That's not how you build a loyal team. That's not how you accomplish your goals. And the public's watching all of this. Polls show people are paying attention to these legal battles. Some of Trump's supporters stick with him no matter what, but others, they're starting to have doubts. They're starting to wonder if maybe there's some truth to these accusations. This isn't just about legal jeopardy. This is about political survival. This is about whether Trump can maintain his grip on power while fighting multiple legal battles on multiple fronts. Okay, so let's break this down into what actually matters. Because there's a lot of noise around this story, but there are really 3 or 4 key points that explain everything. Point number 1, loyalty is currency in Trump's world. Always has been. From the very beginning of his political career, Trump has demanded absolute loyalty from everyone around him. You're either 100% with him or you're the enemy. There's no nuance. And for a while that worked. People stayed loyal because they believed in his vision, or because they benefited from being in his orbit, or because they were afraid of what would happen if they betrayed him. But now we're seeing that loyalty tested in the most extreme way possible. Federal prosecutors with unlimited resources and massive legal pressure. That's the ultimate test, and people are failing it. They're choosing self-preservation over loyalty to Trump. And honestly, can you blame them? These people are looking at potential prison time. They're looking at their entire lives being destroyed, and they're thinking, hey, why should I go down for someone else's decisions? That's human nature, and Trump's finding out that loyalty has limits. Point number 2, the evidence against Trump appears to be overwhelming. We're not talking about a thin case here. We're talking about 833,450 pages of evidence. We're talking about surveillance video. We're talking about witnesses who were there. We're talking about documents that show exactly what happened. Trump's defense team has had all of this evidence since June 2023, and they're still fighting pretrial battles, which suggests they don't have great answers to the prosecution's case. Because if they had slam dunk defenses, this would have been dismissed already. So what does Trump do? He claims it's all political persecution. He says it's a witch hunt. He attacks the prosecutors and the judges and the witnesses. That's been his strategy from day one. And look, that strategy works with his base. His hardcore supporters believe him no matter what. They think this is all a deep state conspiracy to take him down. But here's the thing, that strategy doesn't work in a courtroom. Judges don't care about political narratives. Juries have to look at actual evidence. And when witnesses are testifying under oath, when documents are presented, when videos are played, that's real. That matters. Point number 3, this is happening right now while Trump's trying to be president. Like, think about the logistics of that. He's supposed to be focusing on running the country, making decisions about the economy, foreign policy, national security, all the stuff presidents deal with. But instead, he's got to spend time with his lawyers. He's got to review evidence. He's got to prepare for potential trials. He's got to deal with the political fallout every time a new witness flips or a new piece of evidence comes out. That's incredibly distracting. And it's not like Trump can just ignore these legal issues. These are serious federal charges, mishandling classified documents, obstruction of justice. These carry real prison time if he's convicted. So he's essentially fighting a two-front war. One front is governing and maintaining his political power. The other front is staying out of prison. And both fronts require massive amounts of time, energy, and resources. Can you believe this? This is the reality of Trump's second term right now. And point number 4, this impacts everything else in politics. Because Trump dominates the Republican Party, his legal troubles become the party's troubles. Every GOP politician has to answer questions about whether they support Trump, whether they believe the charges, whether they think he should step down if convicted. That creates divisions. Some Republicans stick with Trump no matter what. Others start to distance themselves. Others try to play both sides. And that internal party conflict makes it harder to accomplish anything legislatively. Plus, Democrats obviously use this as ammunition. They point to Trump's legal troubles as evidence that he's unfit for office. They talk about impeachment. They push for investigations. They try to use this as a wedge issue to win elections. So yeah, one case about classified documents spirals out into this massive political drama that affects everything. Now let's talk about what happens next, because this case is still in pretrial mode, which means at some point it's probably going to trial, unless Trump's team can get it dismissed, which seems unlikely given the evidence, or unless he negotiates some kind of plea deal, which also seems unlikely given his personality. So we're potentially looking at a trial of a sitting president. That would be absolutely unprecedented. Like nothing like that has ever happened in American history, and it would consume media coverage for months. Imagine the spectacle. Witnesses testifying about what Trump did, prosecutors presenting all that evidence, defense attorneys trying to poke holes in the government's case, and Trump himself potentially having to take the stand. It would be chaos. Complete chaos. And here's the scary part. We don't know how this ends. Maybe Trump gets convicted and has to face consequences. Maybe he gets acquitted and claims total vindication. Maybe it ends in a hung jury and they have to retry the whole thing. Any of those outcomes would have massive political ramifications. They would shape the 2026 midterm elections. They would affect Trump's ability to govern. They would impact the Republican Party for years to come. So when people ask why this matters, that's why. This isn't just about one legal case. This is about the entire trajectory of American politics for the next several years. And the inner circle crumbling, that's just the beginning. Because once people start flipping, once they start cooperating, it creates this domino effect. More people get worried. More people start looking for ways to protect themselves. More people realize that loyalty to Trump might not be worth destroying their own lives. This is wild. And it's happening right now, not in some hypothetical future. Right now. So yeah, keep your eyes on this story, because it's gonna get bigger. More witnesses are probably gonna flip. More evidence is probably gonna come out. More drama is probably going to unfold. And Trump, he's going to keep fighting. That's what he does. He never backs down. He never admits defeat. He never accepts responsibility. But the question is, how long can he keep fighting when the people around him keep turning on him? How long can he maintain his grip on power when the foundation of loyalty is cracking? We're about to find out. And honestly, I have no idea how this ends, but it's going to be one hell of a ride. Stay tuned, because this story's far from over. In fact, it's just getting started.